Japanese researcher Dr. Masaru-Emoto says water is alive and communicating. Scientific experiments prove that water is alive, can feel our feelings, and communicates. Everything we are is the result of what we have in our minds, what we think. Mind and thought is everything, and what we think and what we become. This is what Gautama Buddha said as well. Now, this is also, of course, the Christian doctrine. We are what we even thinking, if it's bad, could be considered a sin. Now, first we must understand nature and then copy it. Nature is our greatest teacher, and the purpose of technology should not be to correct nature, but to imitate it. This is what Dr. Victor Schauer said. Dr. Masaru-Emoto was born in Yokohama, Japan in July 1943. He passed away October 17, 2014. He was a graduate of the University of Yokohama, studied alternative medicine at International Open University, from where he received a diploma in 1992. He was heavily involved with water and its secrets after meeting Dr. Lee H. Lorenzen, creator of micro-aggregated water. Water has attracted the interest of man since ancient times, since it is a source of life, but also a means of purification and healing of the soul and the body. In fact, it was used and is used regularly in various religious ceremonies around the world. Whatever their cultural structure, water is an inexhaustible source of power and life, since it cleanses, it heals, renews, and ensures immortality. Immortality and eternal life is the great dream of man since ancient times. His longing for this made him search until today to research for the elixir of immortality. For the ancient Greeks, the most famous elixir was the waters of Styx, the water that the gods swore by. Styx was a terrible deity, the eldest daughter of Uranus and Tethys, who lived in the Tartars, in the frost, isolated from the other gods who did not like her. From the Tartarus, derived from the word Tartaris, who believed that they were also the gates of Hades, the Thrasis River originates on Mount Helmus in Achaia of the Peloponnese in Greece. The waters of the Styx were associated with theological and philosophical ideas, such as those from the Eleusinian mysteries and the Orphic mysteries about reincarnation. Psyche, looking to find her match Eros, was forced by Aphrodite to carry water from the Styx, and in these waters Achilles was baptized by his mother Thetis, and he became invincible, invulnerable, and immortal, except for the heel, which did not get wet by the whole of these special waters. And thus we come with the phrase, the Achilles heel. He was found there by the fatal arrow of Paris at Troy. Water is considered as the essence par excellence, which has a property of being magnetized, that is, of imprinting, inscribing on it and transferring the invisible psychic energy as well as the emotions of people. Water in ancient Greece was cathartic and liberating. When people wanted to disinfect themselves after a plague or simply to wash themselves, they resorted to the nearest river or the sea, where they again wanted to get rid of a punishment or curse. They bathed in water from a clean spring. The topic of water is very interesting and big, since it's one of the four elements of nature, and yet so little importance has been given to it by man. The purely energetic dimension of water, with the bright exception of the experiments of Dr. Victor Schauer and the well-known Dr. Wilhelm Reich, was officially scorned during the 19th and 20th centuries after the materialist Newtonian direction imposed on the Western scientific community. In addition, despite the fact that in the last few decades, quantum physics has opened the horizons to the understanding of the energetic nature of reality, until today, there was no valid method or any scientific instrument that could capture with measurable quantities any changes brought about in the water by various subtle mental actions, since according to the prevailing scientific logic, what cannot be observed or measured must be considered non-existent. It does not surprise us at all. After all, how else will the overlords be able to control the human flock in the fold? The strange Dr. Masaru-Emoto. For the first time, through valid scientific experiments, Dr. Masaru-Emoto demonstrated the wonderful response of water to music, to external stimuli, to words, to the environment, to human emotions, to human consciousness, and to human mental energies, regardless of distance, time, and space. With the help of modern science and employing a technological advanced instrument, the magnetic resonance analyzer, investigating the crystalline form of water and photograph the changes caused to it by various environmental and human influences. What are water's musical preferences? How does water react when we speak to it with love? How does it respond to our thoughts and emotions? How much does water suffer from environmental pollution? What different faces does water show in the city or the countryside? These are just some of the questions answered by this amazing and subversive scientist who broke new ground for human consciousness and invites us as humanity to redefine our attitudes towards the environment before it's too late. He scientifically proved that the energy in the environment, music, but also words, thoughts, and emotions, and not only of people, directly affect the structure of the water crystals, which literally feels and reacts like a living entity. The therapeutic and psychotherapeutic implications of these amazing experiments of Dr. Emoto are huge, since the human body is also made up mostly of water. Man first appears on a physical level on Earth when the egg of the female unites with the sperm of the male and is fertilized. That's at the time of conception. In this phase, the percentage of water found in the fertilized schedule amounts to 95% of its components. Hence, it consists mostly entirely of water. The percentage of water in the adult's body is around 70 to 72%, so it's clear that the human body is made up of water. What water does and how it works is of absolute interest to us, or should be, because this is how we know our body and by extension create our health and a good life. If water, an unknown to this day how many other substances, is alive, having the ability to think, feel, and react to human emotions and mental energies, then we're led to a new and altogether subversive view of the universe and the actions that generate and determine the consciousness factor. If consciousness is something that transcends the limitations of space and time, permeate even inanimate matter, what is the field through which it propagates, and what is the substance of which it is composed? Important questions that should concern the official scientific community and not bother independent scientists and researchers. As you understand, as a reader of strange and scientific work of Dr. Masaru-Emoto, like the results of his laboratory research, was marginalized by the scientific establishment, since the orders from the well-known secret societies of the overlords and human hybrids are clear and non-negotiable. Now, in mainstream quantum physics, it's the thought of the observer that shapes and influences reality. This theory is applicable everywhere and in the personal human world, so it is a part of reality. Even quantum says that for the reality created by the observer, his intention, his thoughts, his words, and his emotions are the real powers of creating his reality. So if you want to see this creative power, look around you. From the wildflower on the muddy road to the National Computer Network, and from the child's smile to a Mozart symphony, all began with a thought of the observer. If this thought pulsates with affection and love, and its effects can be seen even in water, imagine what happens to the human organism, which consists of water. The water crystals are its face. It's a solid substance whose atoms and molecules display a structured arrangement. Crystals are found in snow, quartz, as well as various other natural minerals, diamonds, table salt, and other synthetic substances. Dr. Emoto labeled water bottles with expressions of human emotions and ideas. Some were pro-survival, like thank you, I love you, you're beautiful, and love. Others were negative, hence anti-survival, such as you make me sick, I'm going to kill you, contrary to mainstream dogmatic science, the water responded to these expressions of consciousness, even if the words did not create measurable physical activity. The water with the pro-survival messages gave beautiful and harmonious crystals, while the water with the anti-survival messages gave ugly and unsightly crystals. Love is the basic survival ingredient of life. Without this, life is energetically dead or in a latent degenerate form. With affection includes love and it's superior to it. Life is filled with joy, warmth, and contentment. With love for all, no matter what happens and regardless of external factors, you gain power. A power that only truly great people possess. A truly dynamic energy that only if you experience it, you realize its greatness. And don't forget that affection is not that warm and slimy give and take that we experience around us called love, nor does it emanate from the heart, nor is it an emotion. Love is a state of being and is not affected by feelings, words, or thoughts. Now, water flows fast, and it's the natural phase. We often use the term natural water, but to what extent is it really natural? In other words, the boundaries of the word natural are very vague, and if we say that it is water that has not been affected by human influence, then perhaps there is no water on earth that can be called natural. Water exists on earth long before the appearance of man and constantly repeated the cycle of its rapid flow naturally. We simply borrow water from nature, but because it was so convenient for us, we began to use exclusively large quantities as our civilization developed. The result is that we pollute it before it returns to its cycle. This polluted water goes through a process of disinfection with chlorine, fluoride, and dozens of other chemicals called purification, by which we create unnatural dead water. The self-cleansing power of living water. Living water has the ability to self-cleanse. For example, when rainwater percolates through the ground, it percolates through the soil and becomes part of an underground spring. It also clears when it evaporates from rivers and lakes, creating clouds in the sky. And these are two simple examples of the process of natural water purification. Creatures that live near estuaries such as trout, salmon, and mullet use whatever the rivers bring down as food, and for this reason we expect that as a result of this natural purification, the water in the delta of the rivers would form finer crystals than the waters in the middle of the river. Where can we find natural water? Cleansing is performed continuously on a large scale within the large cycle of nature. Nevertheless, nowadays, due to human intervention, a remarkable amount of chemicals has entered the soil through which rainwater filters. This means that the underground water sources as well as spring water is also polluted. Not to mention the pollution of the water due to the discharge of dirty water into the rivers from the waste treatment facilities and complexes, car exhaust gases, soot from industries, and smoke from daily incineration, as well as pollutants from nuclear power plants that are still in operation today. Air is polluted in thousands of ways, and even rainwater is subject to human pollution, creating the phenomenon of acid rain. Lakes and wetlands have undergone artificial reformation through the construction of dams or due to diversions and alluvium. So the truth is that it takes a lot of effort to find natural water and the true sense of the term. And in the book, he has collected photographs of water crystals of samples taken from classical natural springs, rivers, lakes, wetlands, and even rain samples. Most samples have been collected in Japan and are considered water that has not been polluted by human hands. So yes, water has a memory. Like man, the elements of nature have their own memory on which information from external factors is recorded. Water tells us to look deeper within, and when we look at ourselves in the water mirror, the message it gives us is incredibly clear and distinct. The body looks a lot like a sponge that's made up of trillions of chambers they are the cells that contain water. The quality of our life is inextricably linked to the quality of the water around us and within us. Each organism has an energy body of electromagnetic texture that contains the physical body, which is also the protective armor. This energy body is what we call the etheric field. Actually, it is an organic field, but for the sake of convenience, let's call it etheric. And we distinguish two sizes in the etheric field of every living organism. The intensity of the etheric field that characterizes its degree of vitality, and the quality of etheric field, the so-called colors. Water is a living organism, and like all living organisms, it has an etheric field. Especially living water is an orgone carrier. Relatively recently, science has proven that water has the property of working like a liquid tape recorder because it can receive, store, and send electromagnetic vibrations. The preparation of homeopathic medicines and Bach's herbal remedies is based on this property of water to store information. The property of water to store information also works in reverse. So if we clean the dirty water with the best filter, and in the water we will get, there is no pollutants that made it dirty. Nevertheless, the information that we are drinking dirty water has already been transferred to our cells. The information that this water is dirty remains even after this purification and is transferred to our cells. Something similar happens with ex-meat eaters, ex-smokers, ex-drugs users, depressives, neurotics, etc., who have stopped eating meat for many years, have completely detoxified, and there is no trace of meat substance in their body. Nevertheless, they still have the desire, the information for meat, and many times they start again because the memory of the substance of meat remains still alive in their cells. So how do we play music in water? In the experiments, the control was distilled water because it has a simple crystal structure and contains the least amount of impurities. We have found that some types of distilled water tend to lose their ability to produce well-formed crystals. And in the pictures we took are only of examples that started to form nice crystals. First, we took photos of basic distilled water, and then after playing music, crystallized and photographed them again. What is the best way to play music to get the best possible effect on the crystals? What kind of music should we play? For how long? How should it be? How loud should it be? Place the distilled water between two speakers and play a piece of music at normal volume. Hit the bottom of the container and leave it overnight, and the next day to hit the bottom again before the crystallization process begins. Then photograph the crystals. Tapping the bottom of the vials proved to be an important factor because when it was not done, crystals formation was unsatisfactory. So we don't know if this is the best method, but we believe it's the most satisfactory. Though through the shocks, vibrations, information was transferred to the water, causing the crystals to activate. So our planet is not green, it's blue. The natural food we consume, fruits and vegetables, are also mostly made up of water. Therefore, since the water has been contaminated, the same has happened to the natural foods we consume, which contain water. Therefore, also for the person who drinks the contaminated water directly or indirectly with the food, a drop in immunity occurs, with the consequence of the conditions for illness being created. Since water has the property of receiving, recording, and transmitting electromagnetic vibrations, as water is enriched with most of the vibrations of the natural elements in their compounds, it can transfer these trace elements to the living organism, which sustains, since it is a necessary component of all living things that exist in life. Saying thank you to rice every day. An Emoto reader reported to the interesting experiment. He placed boiled rice in two identical glass containers. Every day for a month, he said thank you to the rice in one container and idiot to the other. His two young children did the same thing every day for a month, and as soon as they got home from school as a result, the first rice to which the children said thank you underwent a good fermentation and developed a nice, rich, and soft aroma, while the other, which the children called stupid, turned black and rotted. Everyone said it smelled indescribably awful. So, of course, this experiment was not conducted by an official research institute, but you can do it too. And in fact, we did it without words. We simply placed one container of rice on the orgonite drink charger MWO of the organodrome and the other away from the orgonite. And we had some spectacular results. a minimum time without using the words either to strengthen or weaken the information. In this case, it seemed that not only water is involved, but also various microbes. Germs are just like us. They work hard when we praise them and get lazy when we don't treat them well. And upon hearing the words thank you and idiot, microbes differentiated into beneficial and non-beneficial. This is why the Black Knight locket of the organodrome is so valuable. So, I'll leave a link below for you for this, but I've translated from a Greek article. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.